Hello everyone. We got a little bit of an informal introduction here because I'm about to head out to dinner, but I wanted to record a video for you anyway. Something that a lot of people have asked about is when I posted on Instagram my desk setup, a lot of people were asking what I have on my iPad and my Streamdeck and the other gadgets that are on my desk. So I figured I'm gonna go ahead and explain that to you and show you exactly how I set it up. But obviously, this is all, personal preference. So keep that in mind. You can obviously set everything up exactly the way you want. So starting on the right side, we have my Focusrite audio interface. I like the brand for its affordability. I don't need anything fancier personally, because if I need proper recordings made, then I book a proper studio that has way better gear. But if you do a lot of recording on your own, then, maybe go for something a little bit better. I would recommend the RME brand. They make really, really good audio interfaces. And then here we have a gaming mouse that I like to use. We'll come back to that in a bit. Regular keyboard down here. Then we have a Novation Launchkey Mini right there. We have my iPad running Metagrid Pro. Then over here we have MonogramCC, which I want to make this clear from the start. I would not recommend buying because the brand has not been sending out orders and they've been taking people's money. It was very trustworthy. I love the product, but the company is no longer trustworthy. So would not recommend getting that, unfortunately, because I really wanted to support that company because the product itself is fantastic. And then right here, we have a mini Streamdeck. So that's really all I have. This over here is just a battery pack. And then this is just my phone charging. Now, the reason why I love using a gaming mouse, aside from me being a gamer, is because it comes with a lot of buttons that you can program. So basically comes with this software that allows you to assign key commands and functions to every single button. So what I did is I basically assigned functions for the edit window in Cubase. So if you look at the grid up here, basically the three top buttons are changing it from 16th to 8th to quarter. And then there's an extra button here that changes it to triplet. And then I have two side buttons which zoom out and zoom in. So basically I can control most of the essential functions on this page just with the mouse, which is kind of helpful because I use the pencil tool a lot. So if you're a pencil tool user, I would highly recommend getting a mouse with lots of buttons so you can control a lot of these functions right here in this window. Then there's the Launchkey Mini. For me, it was between this one and the Arturia. Not much to say about this. It comes with also a lot of buttons that you can just simply program. Here in Cubase, it actually comes with the MIDI remote. Like, I did not make this. This is just recognized by Cubase itself when you plug this in. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, you can modify the buttons. The only thing I really modified is one of the wheels in the back controls the click volume for me. But everything else I kind of left at the default because I actually kind of like it the way it is. And the reason I have this, because I have a full-size, as you see in my other videos, I have a full-size keyboard to the side. The reason I have this is really more for synthesizers, if I have to go through patches and audition patches. But also it has a touchpad for the pitch wheel, which I don't really have anywhere else. And yeah, it's really for when I need to either audition patches or also if I'm working on something where I need to hear the sound and then shape it with an XY pad. This is kind of useful to have right in front of you instead of having it to the side. The one to the side with the 88 keys I use if I'm actually playing a piano part or something like that. Or I'm actually composing and just, I find it helpful to not look at the screen if I'm just searching for ideas. But to each their own. But I really love this. It's a really nice, it's been very stable, just simple USB plugin and it works. So I would recommend that. Or the Arturia, really. Now, the big one for a lot of people, if you already have an iPad, a tablet, would be Metagrid Pro. There's other software as well that you could use, but I picked this one. It comes with a bunch of templates already that you can use for different programs, but I basically made my own from scratch. Now, the reason why I love this is because I can put key commands on here and functions that I cannot remember for the life of me. It's often stuff that I don't need all the time, because key commands that I use every single day, I have locked and loaded. I don't need to put those onto this pad or anything else, because I just blindly know them on the keyboard. But there are a lot of key commands that I just don't use every single day, and then I forget them. So this is really useful to have if you want to optimize your workflow. But so you can basically make any of these buttons, this XY pad, you can design it however you like and assign anything that you want from your DAW or notation program, DaVinci Resolve, whatever you're using. It's really very, very useful. It comes with like a little server application so it can connect to your computer. But that's about it. Like, it was actually really easy to set up. It just took like a little bit of time to decide what I want. So what you will see is that this button right here, for me, sets a marker at the location, and it also opens this marker window so you can name it. What this one does is it just opens this marker list. In case I want to move markers, rename markers, it just opens the list of all markers, basically. Then we have this button, which enables loop or no loop. Then this button enables and disables the automation follows the event. So whether, like, if you have something that has automation attached on one of these lanes right here, you would decide whether you move the object with the automation or whether you leave the automation in place and the object just gets moved. Then these two are nudge buttons. If I need to nudge something to the left or to the right, it's kind of helpful. So then this button creates a crossfade. I can't show that right now because I don't have audio loaded in the session, but it works like the key command as well, obviously. And then this button would open the crossfade editor, so you can decide what kind of crossfade you want, or if you want to edit the crossfade in any sort of way. Then this button shows all the used CC. So if I'm back in this, the letter A will take me to my default, which is velocity, modulation, and CC11. But obviously different libraries need different CCs. So if I have drawn something or recorded something in a different CC and I want to see it, then I can just hit use CC and it will show me all the data, that is all the lanes that have data in them. And then this button will hide all the CC lanes, which I find helpful when I record like piano and stuff. I don't really need to see everything. But so when I hit A again, I just get my default. And then these buttons are basically for if I need something that isn't in my default. So this will have my default plus CC2. This will have my default plus CC64, which is sustain pedal. This will be my default plus pitch bend. Then this one will be my default plus panning. This is one specific one that I made for sample modeling, because you just need a lot more CCs for those than you would for a regular sample library. And then this one opens expression maps, which, I mean, that would be down here. This library, I don't have expression maps set up. Then this button right here allows you to change the time signature. So if I want that 4/4 to actually be a 3/4, that'll do it. This button will allow you to change the tempo. And then these two will set this range right here. So if I hit this, it will activate this down here, so I can just type in whatever bar number I want. So say I wanted to start in bar 2, we just do that. Same with this button. If I hit that, it marks this one down here, and you can just enter whatever you want. And then this button is really useful because when I hit that, it opens whatever VST is connected to that track. There you go. So this one's connected to a contact instance. And then as you can see, I have a XY pad which functions really well with synthesizers, obviously, if they react to an XY pad. You can change the CCs up here that it reacts to, but it's also really helpful if you have something like Thrill, for example, where you want to play a note, which is also why it helps to have a little keyboard in front of me so I can just press the note, and then with my other hand I can shape the sound with the XY pad. So essentially when you have an instrument like this, you can use this and it will correspond with whatever you're doing. So this is really cool if you're trying to shape a sound. You play a note and then you can basically, shape it exactly to the piece and have it go however you want. And obviously there's way more functions here that correspond with synthesizers as well. So you can use it for anything that has an XY pad, which is really kind of cool because otherwise shaping XY stuff is sort of difficult. Like doing that with the mouse or doing that with faders, I find very, very difficult. Then these buttons on the right here are basically helping me for the most part to quickly edit CC data. So you got the CC1 plus 10 minus 10, which basically means all the CC1 data or the data that you have selected, depending on what you want, is shifted up by 10 or shifted down by 10. And then the same for the CC11 plus 10 minus 10. So this helps me, especially when I'm layering a lot of libraries. It's really helpful to just very quickly say, oh, it's too loud or too soft, and I need to change either CC1 or CC11 or both. Then this gives me the ability to just very quickly adjust everything in one go. Sometimes, though, you have this type of data where you have a curve like that, right? Crescendo, decrescendo. And so that's what these buttons are for. So this one, they're basically using the scale tool where you push it up and down, but it gets like compressed or expanded instead of just shifting it up and down. So that's what this is doing, right? It's expanding the range or it's narrowing the range. And so then if you have something like this, right, and you're like, this is too extreme, you can either narrow the range, but then you can also use the plus 10 or minus 10 to just generally shift it up and down. So I find that super useful for just bulk editing stuff. Then we have these buttons. It's the same for CC11 and CC1 because those are the ones I use the most. But so we have this button right here I'm just going to show it with CC1. This selects all the automation in case you want to apply something to all of them. This makes it very easy to just apply everything in the region. And then this one is a copy-paste button. So this copies the CC1 data if you want to paste it somewhere else. And again, same functions for CC11. Now, what these buttons do, I find those super useful. This basically copies all the CC1 data into CC11 in case I want them to have a similar movement, right? I can just say, copy what I've done in CC1 down to CC11, done. And now I can, essentially go into CC11 and just be like, yeah, but I want different values for this. So we're just going to shift this up, done. So I find these super useful for someone who just edits so many things in, this editor. But you can also do it backwards and copy from CC11 to CC1. There you go. And then I also have one, let's just show the CC2 lane, where you can copy from CC1 to CC2, which usually controls vibrato. So in case you want to do that and have the vibrato move with the velocity, with the modulation, then you can just do that too, like so. So then this button copies all the MIDI notes if you want to paste them somewhere else. And then this one selects all CC data. So in case you have data across lanes that you want to copy to a different region, this would be the button. And then this one clears all of the CCs in case you copy a region because you want, say, these notes, but you don't want the CC data, right? Because you need to redo it or it's just a different library that functions differently, then this button will just get rid of all of the CC data. Then we have this button, which opens the quantize panel. I don't actually have a quantize button on here because I just have it set to Q, and I use it so much that I just don't really need to have that, right? I just press Q and it will do that. And then something I also have set up in order to clean up MIDI very easily is when I hit Shift Q on my keyboard, it will quantize the ends of the notes. Very helpful if you're doing MIDI cleanup for an orchestrator to have everything quantized and everything where it needs to be, so it doesn't look like crap when they import it into their notation software. Then the Q-Link button is actually for the mix page. Let me get that over here. If you ever use that button, I use it quite a lot. It enables that button so that when you have multiple things selected, they move as a group, which also goes for any of this. Like if I enable this reverb and I change the value, it will do it for all of them. Same with any plugins that you're using, it will adjust the values for all of them. So it's super useful if you're just trying to apply things across the board to something, then this Q-Link button is super useful. Then we have this little Pac-Man symbol, which I use to disable tracks or enable tracks. And then the ghost button also, is it also from Pac? I think so, right? Is to hide tracks. So whatever tracks I have selected will get hidden if I hit that button. So that's all I have on here. Obviously, you would do whatever you want. Anything here is modifiable. You can do whatever it is you want. And whatever fits your workflow. There are certain functions I have on here just because I use certain libraries or because I need certain functions regularly or because I'm just working a certain way in the MIDI editor. So it makes sense for me, but maybe this doesn't make sense for you. So in that case, just do your own thing. And then over here we have the MonogramCC. Again, I would not buy it. The company is no longer trustworthy, but I have it, so I'm using it until one day it no longer works. And it comes with this lovely software where you can assign things however you want them assigned, and you can choose the colors and everything. And it's magnetic too, which it's such a good product, especially also if you travel a lot or if you have limited desk space and you need to modify the layout. So it's really sad for me that the company basically no longer functions properly. But so I have it, so I'm using it for different things. Some of these are actually kind of duplicates of what I have on the Metagrid. But so essentially what these do is, starting here, these two buttons, the top one will hide tracks and the bottom one will once again open the VST that belongs to the track. So I have these buttons also on the Metagrid. And then this button here will create a new track. It will open this window so you can create whatever you want. This one will duplicate the selected track, and then this one will disable that track. And then I have these faders. This is CC1, CC11, and CC2. Sometimes I just really like having physical faders that I can use. So again, you can also have these on the Metagrid, but for those, I just really prefer having physical buttons that I can use. And then these correspond with different lanes in the main window, or also depending on the software with synthesizer buttons. Same thing goes for this. I have the setup, the large button, to correspond mostly with synth stuff. And then lastly, we have the small Streamdeck in the back. You can set this up however you like. They also have bigger versions if you want those, if you prefer having buttons. It comes with this software where you can, add the icons and set it up however you want. So this first page is just opening programs that I just use all the time. So that's why I have those. And then if you go to the second page, I have set up shortcuts specifically for these programs. This is Isotope RX, Sibelius, Cubase, Pro Tools, and DaVinci Resolve. So for Cubase, for example, you can see exactly what I've set up. So this button here, the backup project, will open this very particular thing where if you're working from a template, you want to back up the project in order to work on a cue. Then this button right here will close the project. I'm not going to do that right now because we still want to show stuff. Then we have this setup button right here, which will open this page to set up the project, get the frame rate from the video. That's usually what I need the most, honestly, to adjust the FPS for the session to match the picture. Then we have the TC button, which is for timecode, which opens the timecode window so you can set the timecode at cursor, which is also very important. You have to do that for every single session. Then we have the pool button, which opens the audio pool right here. Something else I have in here is import tracks. So you can import tracks from a different Cubase session. Also very important when you work on movies. You do want to have that option. Sometimes you want to grab just the MIDI, but sometimes you also want to grab entire tracks and the effects that are on them. So that's what that is for. Then we have remove unused media, which is essentially for the pool. So here you can either trash or remove the unused media from the pool. I'm not going to do that right now. Then over here we have VEP. What that does is if in this window I'm like in a different configuration and I want to get back to my main outputs, I just hit that button and it will take me back to the first configuration, which is the one that I use the most. And then FX is going to take me to the effects configuration, the reverbs and whatever else I have in there. And then we have the export button and render in place and freeze unfreeze. So what these do is very self-explanatory. The export button obviously opens the export window. Render in place will open the render in place window for you. And then freeze unfreeze will basically freeze a track and unfreeze it in case you're having trouble with something, right? And you have a lot of heavy VSTs and sometimes you want to freeze a portion of them, then that's the button that I use. And then these last two buttons are very important for usually film composers. Insert silence and delete time, which is very, very important for if you do cue conforming, right? You get a new cut and you have to figure out how to get either more time into the cue or to delete time without messing everything else up. So what insert silence does, say I have a region here, right? And I need like, say 2 extra beats for the cue to work again, then I just hit insert silence and that's what it will do. And it will shift everything else exactly the way it was. So it will not mess anything up. Just gonna have to then also enter a bar change, obviously. And delete time will do the opposite. Whatever you have marked will be deleted and everything else will shift. Super useful for when you're working on a cue. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I've set up. I have obviously more shortcuts set up, but like I said in the beginning, the ones that I use every day, I just don't need on any device because I just know them blindly and it's faster for me to just blindly hit the keyboard instead of, lifting my hand and looking for a function somewhere else. Anyway, I hope this was helpful and I'll see you in the next video. Go practice.